أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our dear brothers and sisters, and welcome on the Lantern of Light official. With me, your host Sakeena Habib, for this evening. And I would like to warmly invite you all to this amazing program, more like a coffee talk on our Lantern of Light official page. And before moving on, I would like to recite a few opening verses of the Holy Quran, and then we will proceed with today's program, inshallah. Let us recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم أجمعين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم أجمعين. I recited the beautiful verses of Surah Al-Sharh, and we all know that it has such a beautiful meaning, especially the part where it says that after every hardship comes ease. And today's program is quite a special one. The reason being that it is about social media. It's just like how you say social media, social media, social media everywhere. We're living in an era, in a world that is filled with technology, and really the question comes that are we giving time to our families? Are we giving time to ourselves? Where are we investing our real time in? And the light is a safe space platform where we bring in such topics that are relevant, that are pertinent in our day-to-day time and era, so that we can all connect deeply and polish ourselves and nourish our souls, and we have a similar mindset towards achieving a great purpose in life. And today I will be joined by a very special guest, Sister Sabira Kanji, and of course our very well found speaker, Sister Nasim Walji Pirmohamed. Both of them do not need introductions as such, but I would still like to briefly and humbly introduce both of them. A little about Sister Sabira Kanji, that she is a clinical psychologist and a family therapist, and she was born in Tanzania and brought up in Pakistan. She did her master's in clinical psychology, and she has been residing in Iran for the past 15 years and is conducting online therapy sessions for the past 7 to 8 years. She's also on the therapist panel for various platforms such as Ask Those Who Know, Imam Connect, and Faith Counseling. And she has a passion to help people to understand their emotions and regulate them so that they can have a fulfilling relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the self, and family. And of course, we have Sister Nasim Walji Pirmohamed. She's an esteemed, profound religious speaker. She's an MFHA faith coach, and mashallah, she's handling and controlling the lantern of light, and she's enlightening sisters worldwide, globally, from around the world, and she really enlightens us with her wisdom and pearls of knowledge. And get back to our talk today, I would like to welcome, first of all, both of them on board with a salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to both of you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for the introduction.
Most welcome. It is an absolute honor and a pleasure to have both of you on board with me today. And the topic is something which is so interesting, so intriguing. It's about how social media, affect our day-to-day time. How can we, connect with our families having the social media? How can we remember Allah Subhanahu wa Taala? And we will be looking at both the academic perspective as well as from the Islamic perspective, that how can we divide our time and keep that harmony and that balance. Now I just want to tell everybody that this will not be a comprehensive talk or an episode where the two of you will just be having a monotonous conversation. It will be more like a rapid fire sort of communication, meaning I'll be asking you quick questions so that we can tap into the daily challenges of how social media is taking over in our daily lives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Sister Sabira a question, and then I'm going to move on to Sister Nasim, and that's how we will be having an engaging conversation for today's program. So I just want to make sure that your audios are on, Sister Nasim. Can you just say something, and I so that I can make sure that your audio is heard?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Sakeena. Thank you so much for having us this evening. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect. Are you guys ready for answering some quick rapid fire questions for today?
Yes, inshallah.
Absolutely. We'll try our best, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start straight on with Sister Sabira. Sister Sabira, when we discuss about social media and relationships, how do you think relationships have changed over time with social media?
Yeah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So you see, when we talk about social media, yeah, it came into existence so that we could keep in touch with our relatives, friends more easily, especially people who are not living with us, like, they are far in terms of distances. So it was obviously a positive thing, and it is a positive thing for many of us. But again, any positive thing has its downside as well. So now what has happened is that, yes, we are in touch with the whole world, but the people we are actually supposed to be touched with, which is our family, which are our children, our spouses, our the family living with us, we are actually losing the connection because we are always glued to our screens. And this is happening almost, I mean, we can all relate to it. When the phone is in our hand, we get so engrossed that, if our child is calling us, our husband is trying to tell us something, yes, we are listening, so-called listening, but we are actually not having that eye contact. We are not having that face-to-face communication. And there are so many people who, as in my clients always tell me that, we don't really feel connected to our spouses. We don't feel connected to our children because they're always in their screens. So it's become kind of more of a negative thing because we are not communicating well with our immediate family. And during the COVID, this thing has become worse, right? Because what has happened is we are so much sorry, did you say something? We are so much into our screens, and
I'm listening.
Yeah, we were so much inside our four walls. So there are people who, after the COVID episode was over, who were supposed to go out, go to work, they have actually been feeling very anxious. And having that communication with people is now anxiety provoking more than something positive. So they would rather have their communications on chat or just send a voice message rather than having that face to face communication. And with when we talk about relationships, even our relationship with ourselves has changed. Because what social media has done is, like, we are always waiting for this like button, or how many people saw my story, or how many people so our self-esteem is now dependent on people's likes and hearts, and these things that actually don't even matter, because those people don't even know me, I don't even know them. But yes, this is how I'm associating my worth, right? That how many likes did this post get, rather than actually come to think of it, our values are, that we should have, we should be worthy in front of Allah, and be in service of Him, and the family is also there. But now it doesn't really matter if I have a good relationship with my family, as long as I'm popular on social media. Yeah? I'm not saying everyone is like that, but there are many people who have now who have this need for being accepted by the wider world. But it's okay if things at home are not really working.
I totally agree with you. In fact, I want to navigate this part. You said that we're more popular on the to the outside world, and at home, like we're not communicating and connecting with our families. But at some time, what happens is that there are people out there who need you for your advice. You are useful to them to help them out. And maybe they want to seek guidance from you. I think this. I will pose this question to Sister Nasim, because I know, mashallah, that she's very much engaged in when people usually ask her questions, and she has to manage both her household chores with her family, and then she also has to attend so many sisters online who want to seek guidance. So, Sister Nasim, can you share how do you manage your lifestyle in that way? How do you keep that balance?
Okay, so I will start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I will begin in the name of Allah, who is the all-merciful, the all-compassionate. May the peace and blessings be upon our holy Prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his pristine progeny. I think this is a very good platform whereby we are able to discuss these matters. These are real issues that are, we are all struggling, be it as speakers, be it as advisors, as guides, people who have had experiences. I think the fundamental thing is for us to go back to insan, a human being, according to Quran, that what is my purpose in this world? And I think this is a very deep question that all of us need to really ponder and reflect, that what is my purpose? What is my existence? Why am I here? And insan is equivalent to time. So I think this is a very philosophical discussion, but I don't want to get into the polemics or the discussions in philosophy. But what Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, that opportunities are like beautiful clouds that you see in the sky, and Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam mentioned this and this is one of the sayings in Nahjul Balagha, that opportunities are like those clouds. You need to grab opportunities, right? So as far as my experiences of life is concerned, where I'm trying to juggle between so many different projects, between so many online advisory kind of consultations, and trying to mentor, to support, to sisters who really need my support. I think it's very, very important for us to be economical with our time, meaning that yes, we are here to help people. We are here to support people. But at the same time, I have learned to unplug myself from the digital world. It's very important for us to disconnect from time to time so that you and I can get a breather. And I think there's nothing wrong for me being a little bit more economical with my time, simply because I also need my own rejuvenation. I need to revive my own soul. I need to really think. I need to do my dhikr. I need to ponder. So I think the digital world and the excessive use of the media has really alienated families and individuals, across the globe. And I think one of the ways that I have learned, especially in the COVID times, is that I've almost like put a timer on my phone. Even though people have questions, people have things that they're inquiring, it's very important for me to keep that timer. And as long as I know that it's not very urgent question, or there's no emergency, or it's not a fiqh ruling that somebody needs a guidance. For example, it's something to do with haid or istihada or nifas or ghusl, things that the women issues. Come on, we have these issues, right? So as long as these
Yes.
issues are not urgent, I would say I'm going to give it time and I will respond. And that will be part of my, list for the day. But at the same time, I think it's important that everybody understands that this life and the time that we need to invest in our lives is so important. It's so important that we forget, and we are sometimes so oblivious that we are constantly in a race. I remember when I was growing up back in East Africa, it was almost like I was racing with a slow-paced life. And I think I want us to understand this, that if you remember, there was a morning, there was an afternoon, there was an evening chai with biscuits, and all these things that we used to have as an extended family, right? Okay. So it was a race. We were all going through a race. We had duties to accomplish, but at the same time, it wasn't as fast. It was a slow pace. But right now, every minute second, I'm at a war with the time and the lifestyle that I'm living in. It's almost like I'm going to miss the train. I'm going to miss the bus ride, and I have to be with the people, with the times. So I think we need to take a back step and go back to the Quranic values. And like Amirul Mu'mineen has mentioned, that these are the opportunities that we have, just like the clouds that you see. Sometimes you don't even notice that there was a beautiful cloud out there, the cumulus cloud, or the amazing sky. And these are the opportunities. The time that you and I have is the opportunity that we need to work on ourselves. So that's one of the things that I feel, yes, I'm going to respond. If it's not urgent, it will have to wait. People have to wait. And I think this is the kind of respect that we need to use as best practices. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sister Nasim. I can totally relate to your point. It's so valid, because it's very true. Half of the time when we're scrolling on different social media apps, like there's so much news on the feed. This event is happening, that event is happening, this person has done this. How much can you keep up with the information? Like one thinks to themselves, okay, I need to pen down this information, and I need to use this information. But how much can one do, and how much can one follow up? You probably we even get invited sometimes to certain events, to talk, to give lectures, be it online or be it physical. And even to manage that becomes so difficult. And you are in that situation that I have to do it, because it's like you're doing it out of love, out of your passion. You want to be everywhere, but at the same time you can't even be everywhere. So again, the way you said, it's so good sometimes to simply unplug, and take some time to reflect, take things at a slow pace, and not to always be in that rat race, of our daily lives. I really liked how you put it. I will now move on to Sister Sabira for the next question. So, Sister Sabira, as Sister Nasim mentioned, this scrolling endlessly on social media has literally become an addiction for many. How can we avoid it? Sister Sabira, you're muted. Can you please unmute yourself?
Sorry for that. Yeah. So when we talk about addictions, yes, you're very right that internet scrolling and social media has become an addiction. And there's actually a diagnosis now in the DSM, which is our manual where psychologists and psychiatrists use to diagnose patients. So it is actually when social media increases so much that if you don't have it, like if you don't have your phone, you have withdrawal symptoms. Like it becomes like a proper addiction. And the same chemicals are released in your brain, just like other addictions, with whether it's drug or anything else, would release. So it is an addiction, and people are actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 6% of the population have this diagnosis where they cannot live without the phone, without having this connection with the social media, right? And what happens is we can't say all of us are having this addiction, because it impacts your relationships, your, let's say, all walks of life. So it's your work, it's your studies, it's your relationships. So if all of that is affected and you get moody or aggressive when you don't have it, so yes, it is an addiction. But generally, when you see around us, despite not having a diagnosis, we are sort of addicted to it, because you must have seen that it's become so spontaneous. Like, let's say the minute I'm free, I just pick up my phone. What does this show? That nowadays this is the easiest tool which is in my reach, and I don't let myself sit with myself. I don't let myself sit with my feelings. Maybe I'm going through something emotional, right? So instead of just reflecting on why am I feeling like this, or what is wrong, is there something wrong with my communication with my, let's say, spouse, or is there something to do with the children? What I'm doing is just distracting myself from all of it, and just having a good time, or just trying to avoid. And as parents, this is like even more dangerous, because children, what we see these days is everyone has their own gadget, and unfortunately we are giving this tablet or phone very quickly to our children, right? So they don't learn to actually
Yeah.
play with toys, go do something else. And because the nature of these games, or even if it's educational, what it does is gives you instant gratification, right? Let's say if they are playing games, children are playing games and they get rewarded, they get stars, they get well done. So it's giving them instant gratification. So they don't get that gratification from actual games, because they're slow, they have to sit, they have to do things, right? And even with adults, you must have seen, like,
Yeah.
instead of going out, now it takes a lot of effort to actually get out of the house, because we are getting that at the
Very
tip of
true.
our finger. Yeah. So the best thing we can do is, first of all, being mindful of the usage, right? So there should be some boundaries, there should be some rules in our house. Like, let's say, no phones during meal times, no phones when after you come from work. Leave it at a place where it's not out of reach. If you think you're, you grab it. And obviously, if the household has children, you are the model. If you tell your child, okay, no, 1 hour is enough, and you yourself are spending your free time on the phone, the child won't understand what shall I do with this free time, right? So they have, when we
Yeah.
have those boundaries, we should have an alternative for them. Let's say you have to interact with the
True.
child, play games, not like just tell the child it's enough, and then obviously it gets into a chaotic situation, because children say, but mom, give me 5 minutes more. Mom says, okay, 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes the same story. Because what happens is, when we want these boundaries to be defined, we have to be consistent. Not that one day you let the child have half an hour more, and the other day you're screaming that no, because you're feeling guilty that the child is having a lot of screen time. So consistency in, like, with any kind of rule, parents have to be consistent. They have to be the models. So have activities in place that are interesting for the children, that you have that quality time together, right? And as adults, I think it is also very important that to look into yourself. Why do you need this phone all the time? Are you trying to distract yourself from problems? Are you trying to avoid certain conversations that are supposed to take place between you and your husband or whatever? So because there's so many couples that I get, or women as clients, who are always complaining that we've lost that connection. Because when you're on the phone, for instance, if your husband is on the phone, you're talking to him, and there's no eye contact. He says, yes, I'm listening, right? But obviously, when there's no eye contact, you
Yeah.
don't feel heard, and you might say, oh, there's no point having that conversation. And it's not just for husbands, even wives, right? It could be any. So, we have lost that face-to-face communication somewhere, right? And it's all about,
Yeah.
just picking up the phone and being there, without really reflecting onto why are you picking it up so often, right?
Yes, and can I just add a point over here, Sister Sabra, about the point where you mentioned that sometimes when we're having conversations with our family members and they're not giving us that eye contact. What I've noticed from my observation, especially I think I'll be talking about the youngsters, the millennials and the Gen Z. Okay, the generation of right now. I've noticed that when you want to talk to them, they're busy on their phones, and at the same time they are replying you. But then when you tell them that I feel like you're not giving me attention, like look at me when I'm talking to you, and they go like, we are listening to you at the same time. Like I'm multitasking. This is my way of multitasking. I can be talking on my phone, texting, and I can hear you. I know what you're doing, and I know what you're talking about. So my attention is with you. Now, how do you deal with such type of youngsters, because that's how they function? Probably, I don't know. Even I sometimes feel offended if someone doesn't give me that eye contact. Like if someone would talk to me, I would actually, out of respect, put my phone down, and I would prefer giving them that eye to eye level contact. But our youngsters, they argue and debate on this. They say that no, we're actually full on ears. And sometimes it happens that when you ask them, that did you hear this point, and the details are so well heard, like you get surprised. Wow, okay, they were actually listening to me. So what would both
No,
of you have to say on this? First, Sister Sabira can add her point, and
yeah.
then Sister Nasim, you can add your point as well.
For me, I don't think communication is just about listening, is it? Listening is just part of communication, and the whole thing about eye contact, your non-verbal, your non-verbal communication is, in fact, more than 70% is non-verbal. And if he's or she's looking at the tablet, obviously he or she's not nodding and giving you that response that you want, right? So I think it is very important to be assertive and say that, yes, I know you're good at multitasking, but I would like you to put the phone aside so we can have more face-to-face. It's not about just listening to me. I want to feel what you have to say. I want to see your nonverbal reaction. I want to be there. It's not about just listening and giving an exam that, yes, you've heard what I said, right? Because what happens is,
Yes.
like, not specifically with teenagers, but with couples, there are a lot of research is done on the same thing, right? So the women who were interviewed, they actually said that they feel sort of jealous of the phone because they feel the phone is getting more attention than they are, right? And this is one thing that is
Yeah.
cause of conflict between couples. And also it actually disrupts their relationship because it's not the same as it's supposed to be, right? No matter, yes, they can always come up with answers that, well, I'm multitasking, but it's not about that, right? It's just like, okay, let's say if you were washing dishes and talking to someone with your back there, yes, you're listening, but you're not giving your spouse or your children that attention. With children also, there are a lot of research will say that parents who spend a lot of time on their phone are physically present for their children, but they're emotionally absent. And children who grow up in such environments, they are actually not emotionally intelligent, because one of the ways that people get emotionally intelligent is by watching non-verbal behaviors, responses that they know. Let's say the mother is on the phone, the child has come from school and wants to share something, and she's not looking at the child, so she'll never be able to understand how the day was, right? You must, as a mother, we just can tell the minute the child is coming out of the let's say bus or whatever, and we know how the day. Why? Because we see their
Yeah.
face and we understand, right? So it's not just about the verbal
Yes.
communication, it's also to do with the non-verbal bit.
Yes. So, Sister Nasim, if you can also enlighten on this point, that how can really we, establish meaningful relationships and its positive impact on family life.
I think I just want to go back to what Sister Sabira mentioned, that we are physically present with our family members, be it our spouses, be it our children, be it our friends, be it at the mosque, but we are not emotionally attached. We don't show that emotional side of us, the spiritual side of us. And I think that is so fundamental as human beings. So I personally would go back and navigate into the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we have this model of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi wasallam. They are the best templates for us to build these meaningful relationships between family members, siblings, children, spouses. And one of the examples that I want to share is that when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he used to give his sermons, his khutbah in Medina, and the ashab, the companions, they were so happy, and their spirits were so elated, because the Prophet used to see each and every person. He used to give that eye contact, that facial gesture, that unique sight to each and every one sitting in the khutbah. So he had an audience, and these were the people of Medina. But if you look at the Prophet, he just wasn't looking at just one person who was sitting in the middle, but he used to give that eye contact so that he could engage non-verbally. He was giving a speech, he was giving advice, nasiha, but at the same time, he was so engaging. And I feel that right now, even when you go to restaurants, when you go for a meal, it's a birthday, it's a celebration time, everybody's at the restaurant, everybody. And I'm honestly telling you, the adults and the senior members are really not good role models sometimes, because they're the first ones picking up their phones and just looking at all the videos and all the TikToks and all, the messages. And you wonder that you've come out for chai, or you've come out, for a meal. You want to talk, you want to share, you want to discuss. And this is where the regular talk time or the communication happens. And if it's not there, then I think, what's the point of having a meal outside in a restaurant? And this is exactly what is happening in the sufferers every single day. Children are eating alone, husbands are eating alone, there's no family time. And if you look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating us insan, as social beings, we are social. We want to connect. We are not here living in isolation or as individuals. We are not living in our own cubicles. We are here to stretch our love, emotions, our kindness, our compassion, sharing, And I think we are losing out a whole generation because we are not fixed with our own problems, the biggest problem being mobile. I think it's so important that we regularly create an atmosphere at home that each and every person in the house, like dictating, but trying to be very creative, that I'm going to give you all a treat, or I'm going to make something really nice. Let's all, sit together for an hour. Let's just talk. Let's just discuss. Let's just conversate, right? Without the phones. The phones need
Yes.
to be hidden away, okay? So that the real
Yes.
conversation happens. Because right now, the marriages that are breaking up, relationships that are having issues and challenges, it's because of not giving that deep relationship or the depth in a relationship. And that's exactly what the idea of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was, of having people getting married, having children, so that we are all here to work on each other, nurture ourselves, have that self-discovery through family time. But this is not what is happening at the moment. And I think we need to go back to basics and learn from the models of Bibi Fatima, how she used to conversate with her children, right? She had a very busy schedule, mind you. She was extremely busy. She was an educationist. She was a mother. She was a nurturer. She was there to protect the wilaya of Imam Ali alayhi salam. She had young children. She didn't have any help or the machines or the gadgets that we have today. But you just press something and the dough happens and the mandazis happen and all these things that we have, the luxuries that we have, right? But she had that hard time, that physical effort that she put in, that Imam Ali alayhi salam goes to Rasulullah and asks Rasulullah that my daughter seems really fatigued because of the physical work and the nurturing and the responsibilities that are upon her. But imagine that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not just tell Amirul Mu'mineen that, okay, I'm going to get you a full-time house helper. No, I'm going to give her the tasbih. Now, this tasbih is not like this miracle that it's all of a sudden, you will not feel tired and you'll not feel fatigued and you'll not, it's just there as a support that emotionally it makes you more content. It gives you that ease. It gives you that Sakeena. It gives you that peace that no matter what you're going through, but that tasbih will help you. And I think the superficial relationships that we are having right now in this age is really, really detrimental to our children and the future of our children. But we can always change it, by the way. We can always come up with solutions, positive solutions of making change. And the game changer is you and I, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, Sister Nasim, for sharing really some, phenomenal, brilliant points. I really think that everyone should really, take key lessons from what you've mentioned. And it is really true. Our generations are really getting affected right now by the fact that, being parents, we are also most of the time on our phones because of our duties and our work related stuff. And our kids, they miss out that bond, that connection somewhere. They lack that strong connection sometimes with us. And I'm sure that there are some parents, especially mothers out there, who even they do feel that guilt. They realize that I wish I could give my child more time than I'm giving time to this device of mine. But as you said, the way you mentioned, you gave a beautiful example of Bibi Fatima Zahra Salaam Alaiha, that despite being such a busy woman, she still took out a lot of time for her family. She she makes us realize that they were her priority in life. And even for us mothers, we should understand that our children are our priority, and they are our treasures. We should really give them more time than to anything else. Other things can always wait, but the love that a child requires from you is so important. I feel that way. And okay, so I think we will inshallah be coming towards the end to our program. We will be wrapping, but here's two questions that I would want Sister Sabira and Sister Nasim to quickly answer, say like in a minute or two. So first of all, Sister Sabira, what do you think nowadays? Which app is being highly used today, and is really like influencing the mindset of people? What do you think? You're muted. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Sorry, I haven't researched about the different types of apps, but I think all of them, like Facebook, Instagram, they all are being made for us to be indulged. Their policy is that we get indulged in these kind of the way they are. You must have seen like Instagram, you visit one page, let's say even if it's a religious page, they see you, oh, so this is what she gets attracted to, and they will offer you 4 or 5 more pages, and you unconsciously, although you're telling yourself, oh, it's religious, it is to do with spiritual healing, and it's so connected to what is important to me, and you start following, right? So it is actually increasing your indulgence in whatever way, right? They all have a very strong policy and a very strong scheme behind what they're doing. They know exactly how the human mind works. They know exactly what is going to attract us. So they are all I guess all social media pages have this kind of attraction that you say, okay, I'm going to spend only 10 minutes because I just want to check my, let's say, if people have messaged or not, and without realizing 2 hours have gone. So all these social media platforms have
Yeah.
this ability to, attract you like a magnet, and you to stick there, forgetting what is going around you. Your rice is getting burnt, your onions are getting burned. It is that addictive, right? It has got
Yeah.
that power. So just being
It is.
cautious about it's
It is.
how these, yeah. And I also think that one way to do, cut down your presence in social media is actually to see the pages you're following and unfollow pages that are not really serving you, right? Yes, you follow them, but
Okay.
unfollow, and
Hmm.
just being mindful of what are you following, and why do you have to follow. Let's, even I'm following, I'm not saying that I'm also a culprit, but why do we need to follow 700 pages or 1000 pages? We are not going to be doing any, like, even if they're, let's say, educational purposes, but you're not going to be educated by following all those pages. Yeah, you are good
Yeah.
enough just following a few
Yeah.
pages that are really helpful and that you're really learning from, and just unfollow the rest.
True, sometimes it happens like you are following so many pages and then you even forget like you're actually following this
Yeah.
page once upon a time, and then you just wonder like, okay, why did I even follow this page? Sometimes it happens like that. So yeah, it's very important to see the quality content, like which page is giving you that quality, that real
Exactly.
content. It's so important. Yeah. What about Sister Nasim? What would you like to add on this?
I think, like Sister Sabira has mentioned, that we've become so busy in the digital family or the digital relatives that we've forgotten the real human beings that are living with us, who are not just objects, they are souls, they have a heart, they're living, they're alive. And I think we need to build our relationships. And I think the way the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, begins with chapters like Washamsi wa duhaha, wal qalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about wal asr. Allah talks about, he swears by the time, he swears by the sun, the moon, and all these different, awesome universe, all these beautiful creations that Allah has created. I think the phenomenal part of all these different discussions in the Quran is for insan to be mindful of the time that Allah has given us. Because, as I mentioned earlier, that we are associated with time. Insan is equal to time. That what is what I couldn't do yesterday is not going to be reversible nor replaceable. So what I'm able to achieve today, I need to give my fullest. And similar to the communication and the relationship, to build them, stronger, to make them blossom, it's for us to communicate. Sometimes there are people who try and avoid conversations or communication simply because we are tapping into very difficult conversations. And what do? We end up, ignoring them, or we end up not discussing these matters. But I think if we want to mend what's broken in a relationship, it can always be done in a very light way, or in a way where we're able to touch the hearts. And I think the Quran, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, have given so much emphasis on relationship building, how we can connect deeply, and try and avoid everything that perhaps does not really matter in my life. Just like Sister Sabira mentioned, that why do I need to follow all these different pages? Why do I need to follow so many people? Because again, I want to mention this to Sakeena and Sabira. You're younger than me. For you, your time is silver. You can achieve more than I can. I've reached, a level where my time is gold. You know, can't just afford right now to do the things that I could have done 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but you still have the potential. So you can make some changes. And I think this is something that we see even in the mosque. I have noticed, when I'm reciting a majlis, I see a lot of women scrolling their phone. And number one, it's so disrespectful. Number two, it's so embarrassing because you are in this collective healing. This is a vikr majlis. This is a mehfil. We need to connect with our hearts, with our souls, with sisters. And I think it's so disrespectful even to the speaker, whoever the speaker is. And we are just there trying to listen to something else. You've got your earphones. As Sister Sabira mentioned, physically we are all there. Emotionally we are not there. And I think these sort of conversations, I think Sister Sakeena, you need to bring us back to have more of these discussions, because whatever we've discussed tonight is simply just tapping into, just scratching the surface. And there is so much more that we can, inshallah, try and help ourselves and be reflective human beings, be very mindful and conscious of our purpose and how God has designed our day, that part of my time needs to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through prayers, through dhikr, through dua. Part of my time with my serving my family members. Part of my time is going out, earning a livelihood or rizq. And part of my time is to do the engagements, the social engagements, trying to be with people, trying to understand their needs, trying to have that compassion and kindness, and also not forgetting that there is a portion of my life that I need to learn and study and seek knowledge and gain that ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah has already designed this timing for us. It's for just us human beings to just, inshallah, be the game changers and try and tap into our own lives, inshallah.
Inshallah, I hope that we can do that, and may we get the tawfiq to do that. We are all learners in this world, and we learn from our mistakes, and as you said, that time really it teaches you so many things over time. As you grow, as you experience, one really learns a lot of things. I am so glad to have had this insightful conversation with the both of you. Thank you once again, Sister Sabira Kanji, and once again, Sister Nasim Walji Pirmohamed, for sharing, your thoughts and your wisdom with all our viewers on today's program. And I hope that all our sisters will benefit from today's program. And thank you so much once again to the both of you.
Thank you very much for having us here, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And I think it's now time to have our coffee, right? We can all have our chai or coffee, inshallah. And I think have those beautiful moments where you can watch something together. There's no harm. Islam doesn't say that you just have to do tasbih and the dhikr. Everything in balance. And I think it's all about how to create that beautiful balance as families, inshallah, and grow and evolve together, inshallah. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. It's all about growing together, having a similar mindset together in achieving a greater purpose. And that is why we have the Lantern of Light, to invite all our sisters around the world on board to have these insightful discussions, some brilliant topics. And we will be more than glad to have our sisters share their comments and feedback on every program. For example, today's program, we welcome you to share your views and your ideas, and to tell us what topics to bring in, so that we can all have our thoughts and views exchanged on this platform. Once again, I would like to thank everybody for tuning on today's program. Thank you very much. This is your host, Sakeena Habib, and Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.